Hey YouTube, it's Lisa. What's up, everyone? I'm glad to be here today. I want to thank everyone who is stopping and hitting play on this video to check it out. I am going to do a June end of the month wrap up this month, and so this video is going to be a little bit chatty and it might be a little bit all over the place because I just decided to shoot this video kind of on the spur of the moment, but I did want to check in with everyone. I know I haven't been hitting on my weekly releases for content, but I also don't have a lot of content at this time to generate with you guys. And so when I do check in, I want it to be kind of a good check-in, if you understand what I mean on that one. So thank you so much for taking time out. I do content around fountain pens, stationery, now books, and a little bit of just life update kind of thing is what this channel's ending up morphing into. It needs to kind of change and grow as I do. So without further ado, I will try to be as concise as possible because I hate really long rambling videos, so I'll try not to ramble too much. I wanted to pull these aside, but I need this one. The month of June, I decided to take almost all of my Pilot fountain pens. I think I ended up using all of them because I have dupes on a couple of them, and writing with them exclusively for the month of June, just to get a feel again for which ones I like. I might be letting go of one or two of them, but I like the majority of what I have in my Pilot fountain collection. And I also wanted to tell you how it went with the inks that I chose for the month of June. So let me just get in the back of this Hobonichi Weeks cover and the inks that I ended up using for the month of June. And I'm going to zoom in. The majority of the inks that I used with my Pilot pens, I really did like. The one that proved to be the most difficult, let me get this little bookmark out of the way. The one that proved to be the most difficult was the Wearingeul Psychic Poly. It ended up being kind of a nightmare in the Falcon pen. So I ended up retiring the Falcon pen and pulling that to the side. It just did not write very well with me with that particular kind of ink. That ink has properties that are dry, but yet it has kind of, I want to say, chameleon type properties in it. But you can see in the ink vial when I was doing my June currently inked video, it has sheening in it, I think. Not sheen in the typical sense, but you can kind of see the ink morphing in it. And I'll link up above the June currently ink so that you guys can look at what I did in there. I also ended up switching out the Pilot Perera with the CM point to my Pilot Perera, I think with a medium point for the Celandon cat. So those were the two biggest changes. So once I kind of ran through the ink on that, I kind of just re-inked it because I really did like the experience. I did find that almost all the inks, like the Diamine Blue Edition, Red Amber, I loved that one. Red Dragon, of course, is just like a gorgeous red ink. I know a lot of people don't like red inks, but I love red, so that doesn't really bother me. Celandon cat, like I said, I had that in the Pilot Perera, and I had to move it to my other Pilot Perera with the finer nib. The CM nib on that pen is not one of my favorites, and that's one of the pens that I think I might end up letting go. I just did not find that to be the most enjoyable of the ones that I had. Let me just pull my pens over here to the side. So I ended up kind of moving some of my stuff around. And so I ended up putting it into this gray Pilot Perera, and it just ended up being such a better writer. And this is, by the way, the first Pilot Perera fountain pen that I ever purchased. And I think I'm going to be done with Pilot Pereras. They're great little pocket pens, though. They're great for travel because they don't cost an arm and a leg. I don't know what they retail for, but they're not horribly expensive in the greater world of fountain pens. They're still nib-based pens. They write quite well just right off the cuff because, you know, it's a Pilot pen, but it's not like it's a 14 karat gold nib. So you're not going to get that kind of writing like look and feel to it. And they retail roughly in the world of Amazon. They're under $30. They hit around 28, 30 bucks on Amazon. You can get some of them as low as, I think my slate gray right now is on sale, or it's on a price now for $22.72. So I'm going to practically be giving away my CM. I'm going to end up trying to make money off of the shipping more than off the cost of the pen probably, but I think I am going to put it up for resale eventually. But this one, this combination is a great writer, and I'm going to zoom back in. So this one has the Diamine Celandon Cat. I think it's a good match with this body of ink. I used that pen with that one. Then for the Falcon FA one, the one that I found to be quite problematic, I moved, and I'm going to show you the properties of this ink. This is the Wearingeul, and I ended up putting it into my medium Pilot Kakuno fountain pen. And let me see if I can get this to zoom in here. There you go. That's the medium nib. I like how the Kakuno nibs have that little smiley face that kind of winks at you. This writes much better with this ink, but this ink color I find to be a little problematic. It's a little bit harder to see. It's easier to see on a cream colored paper like this Hobonichi than it is on a white paper. It kind of fades out a little bit. You would think that the white paper would make it pop a little bit more, but it doesn't. So without further ado, that was that one. The custom 912 that I have with Pilot, I ended up keeping it in this one. This is the Califolio Bordeaux color. That one ended up being a great writer in that pen. Really enjoyed it. But I think at the end of the month of June, I am going to be emptying out all the inks and just switching them out, because next month I'm going to start another series of fountain pens. This Pilot with the Wearingeul from the Wearingeul Jayne Eyre. I love the color. The color is absolutely a gorgeous, nice pale, very soft and subtle, purple, almost running lilac. That one I have in it, I'm using the Ishime, which is a medium fountain pen from Pilot, and this one is writing very, very well. I almost feel though, given the lightness of this Wearingeul Jayne Eyre ink, you can almost pop it over to a broad so you can really get to see the properties of it. But it is a nice, soft and subtle purple, and I really did actually enjoy writing with that for the month of June. Next off, that Pilot Vanishing Point, I'm going to go ahead and show that Pelican. I absolutely love this Pelican ink, and I don't use it enough, but I do really like it. Is the Edelstein, and I put this one in my Pilot Blue Cabernet fountain pen, and this one is in a extra fine nib. I absolutely love this pen. I forget how much I really do love my Vanishing Point, but it's fantastic writer. All right, so then I'm going to go up and do my other fountain pen that has a retractable, and this is the Fermo. And this one, I like this one because you really do, I'm going to like push this out a little bit more. You really do have to turn this and twist it to like get it to lock in place. And then once it's in place, it just doesn't go anywhere. But in the Fermo, I have the Diamine Red Dragon fountain ink in this one, which is this ink right here. And that ink is a great combination. Those two write together, but Pilot inks are so well behaved, you usually don't have any issues with that. The Pilot Custom 74 has the Diamine Red Dragon in it, and this is a beautiful combination as well. Very well behaved, had no issues with it whatsoever. I just think that that's a great writing combination. It doesn't have any shading or sheening properties to me. It just is red that has a bluer leaning side, which is probably why it's called the Blue Edition. Good combination, really, really did enjoy that. And then next I have the last two ones, which right now I'm going to show you the Pilot Custom 823 with Rohrer and Klinger, Alt-Goldgrun. I love this pen. This is one of my favorite pilot pens. It took me a while to acquire in my fountain pen journey. I just did not spend a lot of money in the first few years of my journey, and I really wanted to make sure I liked fountain pens before I just deep dived into getting gold nibs, and now I'm all in. So this one is a great writing combination. This is another great pen for travel because it is a vacuum filler, as long as you don't fill it up completely to the top. But I really am enjoying writing with this in the month of June. And then last but not least, I have Jacques Vert Atlantide. This is a very subtle ink. It does not come off well in its sheening properties on the Hobonichi, this little booklet that Hobonichi has that you can get, the little memo books. It does not come off on that very well, but it would come off on a white paper quite well. And for that, I have the Pilot Justus pen in a fine medium. So this is where the nib can be adjusted and dialed down from a either fine nib to a medium nib. And you can see how this part of the pen has a dialing mechanism, and you can see that. Let's see if I can get this to focus. Let me see if I can get it to come in for you guys. This pen is great, but there's a little, you can tell there's ridges here, and I'm wondering if you can even see, there it is, the cap on here. I'm going to just try to, get this to focus. Come on, focus for me. I haven't had focusing issues in a while on my pens, but there's a dial here where you rotate this dial and it moves, and I'll see if I can do it this way. It'll move it up and down. You see this sliding backwards into the nib housing, and that is where, if you move it back, it'll give it more flex and a little bit more flex, not a lot. You can't really push it, but I do really like this pen because you do get kind of two pens or two different nibs in one. There's no in between really in it. It's either gonna write fine or it's gonna write medium, but there's really no sweet spot in the middle of that to write. So these were, and these are the June fountain pens that I used for my pilot collection. If you have any of them or any of them that you're interested in trying, leave them in below if you have any questions about any of them. I found, like I said, most of the inks were really well behaved, except for the Wearingeul Psyche Poly. I thought it would be kind of curious. I was going to be curious about writing with it, and I was. But you can just kind of tell that looking at this, there's a little bit of funkiness in this ink, and it's kind of an interesting ink. It almost needs, I think, a broad nib that you probably don't really care about damaging it with the properties of this ink, because the ink properties are very interesting, which I do find I was curious about. So I wanted to go ahead and give it a try. But these were the 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 fountain pens. I really had 2 others in it, so I went through 11 of my pilot fountain pens. That was pretty much all of them. And so there's that. All right, so that's the fountain pen portion of this video. If you want to stick around, I'm going to talk about books that I've read for the month of June and my thoughts and opinions on them. And I'm kind of pleased because where I'm at in my book journey. So get out my bibliophile book, and the month of June has been very good. I have read 2, 4, 5 books in the month of June that I was able to get through. Now, 2 of the books out of the 5 I did start at the very end of May, and that was The Art of War, which had been sitting on my shelf for decades, and the ever so massive The Day of the Fallen Knight by Samantha Shannon. And oh my God, I just finished that book not too far away from the filming or releasing of this video, and that book was amazing. I really did enjoy Priory of the Orange Tree, but The Day of the Fallen Knight, I think I even liked even better than Priory of the Orange Tree. And I will say, I do feel like it's worth everybody's while to get the audiobook, even if you have the physical book or the Kindle. get the audio book, because hearing the accents in books that are kind of foreign or fantasy driven, those are worth hearing, because it does. I do believe it brings a richness to the reading of the book, and adds to the prose of the book as you're like actually absorbing the content of it. So, highly recommend it. I read Happy Place by Emily Henry, because that's been exploding all over the place. I felt like at the end of that book reading, 1/3 of that book could have gotten chopped. I, as a older adult, found it frustrating. I don't deal well with the miscommunication trope, and that was all throughout that book, and it drove me nuts. The book was kind of based off of, I think, younger people's perspective and how they communicate, but it just drove me nuts as an older person. So I would say it's a good book. I think that if you like romance, I think you'll, for the most part, enjoy it. I only gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So it's not like it's a horrible or poorly written book. It's just that trope and some of the miscommunication just drove me absolutely nuts. The Art of War, I thought, was an interesting read. It's very militaristic. Very definitely, it's a classic, and that's why I wanted to read it. I haven't read a lot of classics. Now that I've been back into my reading binge, I would say a part of life. I really did find that book was interesting. I could kind of see why in college they would recommend students to read the book from a strategy perspective, but it really didn't tell you about strategy. Isn't so much talked about tactics. So it's kind of an interesting approach to things, but I did finish that book. For women who are, I would say, in their mid-40s or up, I think it's really worthwhile to read Dr. Mindy Peltz's The Menopause Reset, as well as Fast Like a Girl, because I've read that one as well. If you're having issues when it comes to menopause with hormonal changes, weight gain, valuable books to kind of wrangle those two kind of beasts that hit you kind of in your midlife years that I think a lot of women struggle with. Hell, even younger women, if you're struggling with weight gain and not being able to budge weight off of your body, or you're having hormonal shifts. These are books that I think predominantly are geared more towards women, but men too can do her tips on how you should eat and approach things. So there's that one. That book was really, really good. And I just finished reading the second book off of Tracy Dion's YA fantasy book, Blood Marked, which was book 2 out of the series that she had. No, it's a duology, I think, actually. No. Is it wait a second. I think it's a duology? No, it's not. It's going to be a trilogy. Oh my God. That book, even though it was YA, and I can get into some YA because, I loved Harry Potter like crazy. I was only going to give it a 4.5 stars, but by the time I got to the end, I was like, no, this is a 5-star book. And it's a 5-star book because she got me at the end. And I was just like, oh, I'm not going to do any spoilers on this channel, but that book, you just got to keep remembering that the main female protagonist is a teenager. I had to remind myself, and that she wasn't really trained in some of the things that she has to encounter in that book, and it was all very new to her. And so with that in mind, you can kind of work your brain around it. And I really ended up enjoying it. I got to a point where I couldn't put the book down. I was like waking up to it and going to bed with it. So I gave it a 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. Last but not least, I've got 2 other books. Wait a second. 1, 2, 3, 4. I only got 5. Yeah, I only got through 5 books. I think those are the 5 books that I got through. And now I've got books that I'm starting again at the end of June because I have the bandwidth for it. And that is going to be The Frozen River and Like Thunder, which is book 2 of the duology series from Nindi Okorafor. I'm going to read her second book in that duology series, which is a fantasy sci-fi book. And she's the first African writer, I think she's from Nigeria, that I've read. So I'm really enjoying her style, her writing presence. I was a little confused about how she was going to carry carried over from book 1 to this new book. So I'm looking forward to reading Like Thunder because I just can't wait to see how that unfolds. The Frozen River is based off of a real event that happened. So this is a historical fiction book. And I don't have, let me see if I can just quickly pull up the plot line for the Frozen River because it caught my imagination and attention, and I really did want to read this book for the month of July, and I just could not. And since I've got time, I'm actually shooting this a little bit early. I just wanted to go ahead and see what this was going to be like. Hold on just a second, guys. Let's see here. I'm typing on my iPad to the side here. Okay, I found it. So the Frozen River, okay. Let's read this one. It's by Ariel Lonhon, and I'm going to show you what the cover looks like because I don't have it in mine up. So I'm on Storygraph right now. That's what the cover looks like. For this book, it is a gripping and emotional historical thriller that is perfect for the readers who appreciate strong, courageous female protagonists, historical fiction, and stories that explore themes of midwifery, justice, and the struggle for early colonial America. So this is going to be a very interesting read. So this is set, and I'll just give you the first paragraph. Maine, 1789, the Kennebec River freezes, entombing a man in the ice. Martha Ballard is summoned to examine the body and determine the cause of death. As the local midwife and healer, Martha is good at keeping secrets. Her diary is a record of every birth and death, every murder and debacle that unfolds in the town of Hollowell. In the diary, she also documents the details of an alleged rape that occurred 4 months earlier. Now, one of the men accused for this heinous attack has been found dead in the ice. So I'm looking forward to that one. And that is where I'm at. I have 50 books as a target read for the month, for the year of 2024. I think I'm at 36 books read already. So I'm well ahead of pace, which is good. I might lose some in travels later on at the end of the summer. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I hope that you found this video enjoyable. And if you did, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought about the inks. Which ones did you like that I had used in the month of June? Which ones did you not like? And what are you reading? And were any of the books that I read or are going to read ones that you're interested in? I will have a more fuller lineup of my rest of my July reads, which I do actually have the thumbnails for that I had picked out of my TBR jar. So I'm gonna tell you whether or not, I don't know if I'm gonna get to all of these or not, but here's what I picked out of the TBR jar for the month of July. I have The Paris Housekeeper, The Wishing Game, again, What the River Knows, which is, I've got a lot of water themes here with rivers, but I've got What the River Knows, and what I'm really looking forward to, The Will of the Many, Adobo and Arsenic, and R.F. Kuhn's Yellowface, which has been all over the place as well. So if you've read any of the ones that I've got picked out for July, let me know. And don't give anybody any spoilers, but just let me know if you thought it was a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Really do appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to stop and hit play on this video. Thank you so much, and always see you next time, and stay safe. Talk to you later. Bye.